Welcome to this week's episode of Humans in 5.
After several weeks in various types of lockdown, shelter in place, and reduced human activity, a few countries are starting to relax their restrictions about how people go out and move through public spaces.
Throughout these various travel restrictions, a meme arose that we just couldn't stop watching. People started reporting the return of wild animals to typically human-dominated spaces. Now, we'll be straight with you. Most of the early images were faked. For example, the image of dolphins returning to the canals of Venice was in no way real. But it started the meme known as "Nature is healing, we are the virus."
This meme has been providing us with some laughs during this process, but there are some data-driven patterns in terms of the environment that have emerged over the past few weeks. The sentiment here is that, as humans shift their activity patterns to inhabit less space and travel less frequently, perhaps things like carbon emissions and other environmental impacts may be reduced across our planet.
In the short term, some of these things have indeed happened. In terms of major cities around the world, researchers have noted that, relative to this time last year, emissions are substantially reduced. Air travel represents a major contributor to emissions, and with most flights grounded, this source of emissions is also reduced.
This has had some people casually suggesting that perhaps these short-term changes we're experiencing may have some longer-term impacts affecting climate change patterns. This has become such a theme that several international organizations, including the UN, have crafted responses to remind everyone that really that's not quite the case.
The changes that we're seeing are just too short-term to make a lasting impact. Past instances where international travel or emissions decreased, for example, during the 2008 recession, let us know that as soon as people can return to normal activities and normal emissions levels, they do.
For example, a 2011 study noted that the recession was associated with a major drop in emissions as some businesses slowed down and people didn't have the financial backing to maintain travel habits. But as the recovery started to take hold, people not just returned to their normal activities, but post-recession emissions exceeded those before the recession. This might just be one example, but considering the temporary nature of our current shutdowns, it's a likely scenario that these current low emission patterns won't last.
Also, while not directly related to climate change, some researchers have noted that pollution levels are up. We need personal protective equipment, or PPE, for our healthcare workers to reduce the spread of COVID-19. But this PPE does represent a major new addition to our landfills. Also, anecdotally at least, several municipalities have noted that ordinary citizens using PPE while out at the shops or leaving their homes are throwing their old gloves and face masks into the street and gutters instead of in the bins where they belong.
Now, we're not just sharing all of these details to bring everybody down. We hope that this episode reminds you that the short term is just that, short. As we start to set a new normal, ourselves and a lot of other researchers hope that a new baseline can include some long-term planning about our environment.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Humans in 5.
And don't forget to subscribe.